If you were to take a roller coaster that was selected at random and try to plan a trip around it that included nearby attractions and experiences, what might that look like? Well, that's a question that's being posed on this brand new series here on Coasting with Culture. Hey everyone, I'm Gary and this is Coasting with Culture, which is all about combining theme park visits and riding roller coasters with various cultural experiences around the world. And I want to take this opportunity to thank you for joining me for the first ever random roller coaster trip planner. And this is an idea that actually was inspired by the Drunk Riders. If you listen to episode 249, there was a point in that episode where they started talking about how they were drafting different roller coasters based off of the random roller coaster page on rollercoasterdatabase.com. And I had this idea of, what if we took a random roller coaster that comes from Roller Coaster Database and plan a trip around it? Maybe we start looking into what are some of the attractions in the area that's near that park. If it's in a more remote area where there's not as much there, we might look into some of the nearby cities or towns or counties. But the idea is to try and stick with places that are close to where that random roller coaster is. With that being said, though, here are some of the rules that I'm setting for this random roller coaster trip planner. The first is that the roller coaster that comes up on Roller Coaster Database has to be one that is currently active. It must be operating in its present location. Some of the coasters that come up are listed as defunct because they no longer operate at that location, but instead they operate at a different location. And so I've considered the idea of maybe going ahead and using that coaster anyway. If it's at a different location, just go based off of that different location. But for the time being, I think I'm going to say no to a defunct coaster that comes up. If you think that should be changed, let me know in the comments, and we'll consider doing that for future videos. The second rule is that these are going to be from places nearby. Again, the idea is to try and promote some things that are in the local area. I know, for example, Cedar Point's in Sandusky, and Sandusky's not quite as big of a city as Cleveland, but the idea is that we're going to try to focus on things that are in Sandusky itself or in the towns immediately outside, not necessarily looking at places that are further away unless there's just not as much there. We're going to be trying to plan a 2-day itinerary for each of these trips, and so obviously with larger parks that could take up an entire day by itself. Smaller parks could open up some opportunities to add other experiences. And while there are huge parks out there that sometimes could be worth spending 2 days by themselves, I'm not going to do that because this is Coasting with Culture. This is about combining some other experiences with visiting different theme parks. And that leads us to the next rule, which is going to be that there must be at least one additional attraction or experience that's outside of the park and at least 2 meals. Not necessarily going to be the same restaurant though. The idea is to try and experience more things. So we're going to be looking at 2 different restaurants. It could be that they're both on the same day, or it could be that one happens one day and the other happens the other. Perhaps one of them could be a breakfast spot before going to the park, and then the next day could be lunch or dinner at a different area because it happens to be near some of the attractions that are found. It wouldn't necessarily be against the rules to have a major theme park with a major attraction that you could spend an entire day at, because there might be cases where that's possible. But we are certainly going to look at some other possibilities and adding other experiences. What exactly the itinerary will look like and the time spent in these different places will be based off of the next rule. So we got to account for the travel distance between places, and we have to account for what would be kind of the ideal time. In some cases, I might put things based off of what amount of time I personally would spend at these different attractions. However, while I have an idea of how I might spend time at some of these different places, there are some places where I might not know just based off of first impressions. And so then I would look at what comes up on Google as a recommended amount of time or how much time people generally spend, and I might use that as a guideline. It also has to be based upon the operations of that location. Now, obviously, there are some attractions like museums that are open only in the daytime from 10 to 5 or something to that effect. If that museum closes after 5, can't really go there at that time. So this does have to be based on the actual times between these places, drive time or travel time if taking public transit. And so what exactly is this going to look like? Well, it's going to start with this, the Roller Coaster Database website. If you visited this website before, you know that it comes up with a random roller coaster on the homepage, such as this one that we have here. We would go based off of that roller coaster. We'd take a look at the website for the park that it's in and see what kinds of things there are there, get a chance to talk about how long we might spend there, if it's a full day park, if it's like a half day place, or really more just a place to stop by for the coaster real quick and continue on. And then we'll take a look at sources like Google Maps, TripAdvisor, different searches for attractions in different places that are within that area, starting with those that are the closest to the park and then expanding out into places that might be nearby. And then once I've got a pretty good list of attractions and restaurants and things like that to choose from, at that point, I'm going to go ahead and pause. And then we'll come back to see the itinerary created for this 2-day adventure to ride that roller coaster. And so with that being said, it might be time to go ahead and find that first roller coaster, which is going to be not the Muskrat Scrambler, because if we went to Six Flags New Orleans, it'd be abandoned. Okay, well, let's try for another one because that one's defunct. Lost Coaster of Superstition Mountain at Indiana Beach. All right, this is a good one to start with because Indiana Beach is a really fun park. I had a chance to go for the first time back in 2018. Haven't been since, and I think there's going to be a point where I'll get back there, hopefully in the next year or two, because I've really been interested in that Hops and Coaster Drops event that they've been advertising for the past few years, where you go ahead and try local breweries of the area while enjoying the roller coasters in the park. That sounds like a really fun event, one that really screams Buzz Bars to me. So we're going to start with Indiana Beach. We're going to take a look at the park and its website. Even though I'm familiar with it, there might be folks watching this who have not been to Indiana Beach. And so let's go ahead and click on the park link here. We're going to go ahead to the website for Indiana Beach. So let's see what they've got in the park. We're going to go to the amusement park rides and talk about some of their different roller coasters. They've got Steel Hog. For those who haven't seen Steel Hog before, this is their SNSL Loco roller coaster. You can see it running in that video right there. And these things are just so much fun. You know, there's always these little pops of air, or I shouldn't say little pops of air. There's usually these massive pops of air. And this was one of the first rides to really kind of incorporate the weird angled turns where it would bank outward instead of inward, as you could see where it was going to continue from that point if the video went longer. You've also got the Cornball Express, which is one of their bigger wooden coasters. This one is a little bit more of a twister model that will circle around itself a couple of times. It sits on that boardwalk that's right alongside of Lake Schaefer, and this was one that I thought was a lot of fun. The Hoosier Hurricane was more of the out and back layout, but it's got that picturesque spot being right alongside the lake there, and you could get some really good pictures of it off the bridge that goes to the park. You know, that's one thing that really stood out about the park is that lakeside setting, and easily one of the neatest setups for a park, having the rides basically stacked on top of each other because they don't have a lot of space to work with there. The featured coaster of our video, Lost Coaster of Superstition Mountain. This is a really bizarre ride. It's like a Wild Mouse that's a wooden coaster. The turns are really tight, but you're also in these little cages that keep you from trying to stick your hand out because you're going through these caves and different narrow passages, and the drops are really quick. It was definitely one that was really bizarre. Got the elevator lifts. They've got the Tiger Coaster, which is an old Schwarzkopf. You've got the Cyclone, which I think is, that's some kind of galaxy coaster, some kind of Pinfari ride, I believe. Oh, that's a weird camera angle. It just recorded from the side there. Huh. And then obviously we got the All-American Triple Loop, which has been coming soon for a couple of years, it seems like. Not sure if that one's going to open. Hopefully it does for those who haven't had a chance to ride it. And for those who aren't familiar, this is the roller coaster that used to operate at La Feria Chapultepec Magico in Mexico City, known as Quimera. And my God, that ride was so intense when it ran. Unfortunately, the intensity kind of led to a little bit of an accident, which I think for those of you know already. Looking further into the park, there's also the Den of Lost Thieves, a really neat looking dark ride from that picture. There's all kinds of flat rides, Sea Warrior, Sea Dragon, Tilt-A-Whirl, the Water Swings, which is going to be kind of that old yo-yo style ride that goes over the water. Says closed maintenance. I'm wondering if that's like an off-season thing or something like that, because I don't think they're open in November. So this is definitely a park that would be worth a few hours. At the very least, I'd say 3, 4, but you could probably justify a longer period of time. And depending upon the hours of the park, this could be something that you could do a nightcap and make it so that you could see some of the area attractions that only operate during daytime hours. I don't know if they have park hours. I'm going to take a look here and see. They do not. So that might be something to consider, though, is that usually in the summertime, I think they tend to stay open a bit later. We'll definitely take a look into that as we go on. So again, this is a park that could definitely be worth a few hours to visit, if not longer. And so we'll certainly consider that as we go into the plan. But now I think it's time we go back to the RCTV website, click on the map, and let's see what else we can find near this park. As mentioned before, the park, looking at the map here, it really takes advantage of that lakeside location. This, I believe, is where most of the park is, kind of continuing over here. And then you've got the parking area over here. Somewhere around this spot is where they're putting in the triple loop, and that's where the El Loco is. That would be Steel Hog. And then we zoom out a little bit, and it looks like you've got campgrounds, you've got resorts, which I think there's going to be more of like campgrounds, probably places to park RVs. Looks like there's places that have some cabins there nearby. Now, this is an area that's a little bit more rural in the immediate area of the park, so that could certainly be something that will affect things. There's this place called Norway here. It's Norway Gardens, which actually looks like a nice spot. So let's take a look and see what Norway Gardens is all about. This looks like it might be more of a nursery now that I'm looking at it. Extensive landscaping and garden center. Okay, so I wasn't sure if this was going to be something that would have been more like a botanical garden nearby, but it looks like this is more for home gardening. So that won't necessarily work. Got the Riverside Restaurant, which is located nearby, an American restaurant with a 4.3 on Google. It appears that they have some outdoor patio space, 1,000 pictures. Let's take a look and see what we got here. It looks like there's some kind of like, oh. Ooh. Looks like got some breakfast, some sandwiches. Oh, man. Some of that's actually looking pretty good. So I think we found our first restaurant to list on here. Take a look at some other things here. It looks like they've got lobster tails. They've got steak. Oh, man, that looks like a chicken fried steak or maybe fried chicken. Drinks to enjoy. So this could be a potential post-park visit or pre-park visit, depending on what time you get into the park. Okay, so Riverside Restaurant and Lounge. We're going to go ahead and add that to the list of potential restaurants. So we got the Riverside Restaurant there. We'll take a look and see what else is nearby. Looks like we got Oak Barrel. That could be another interesting one. Let's see, Oak Barrel. Looks like this is another kind of gastropub type place. Oh. Looks like they got a pretzel burger there with some barbecue sauce. These look like some house-cut fries, possibly. Ooh, they've got a sampler of different beverages there. Pineapple, watermelon, black cherry, blueberry. I'll tell you what, the watermelon and the pineapple, I think I'd be interested in those. Lots of desserts, it looks like, too. So they got steaks, they got the Southern Chicken Sandwich, the Oak and Barrel Burger, Prime Rib Sandwich, the Hoosier Breaded Tenderloin. So it looks like Oak and Barrel could be another potential stop. It's good to have options. Might be something that would make it a little easier to visit. So let's go ahead and put Oak and Barrel up there. There it is. Further down into Monticello. And looks like this is going to be kind of your small town type of place. This is probably the main part of town here. We got a laundromat. We got the Catholic Church. We've got the city pool, which if you were going to do a pool, you could probably go ahead and do the water park that is at Indiana Beach there. We got the nature park. I have no idea how that's pronounced. Looks like they have a little bit of an amphitheater here. So for those who might want to go for a little bit of a hike, you could certainly take a walk around there. See what this sign says here. Donated by couple of sororities, it looks like Monticello Motors. So it looks like it's just a buffalo statue. So this is probably something that would be a little bit more for the locals, but if you wanted a chance to walk off some of those calories, I suppose. We got another restaurant here, the Sportsman Inn, located off of the river. Another very highly rated restaurant. That seems to be something that's not going to be a shortage in Monticello. Here's the variety of restaurants. It's like they do sandwiches, same kind of gastropub kind of thing. They got pizza there too. So I think we'll go ahead and list that as another possible restaurant. And there it is. I think we've done well with finding a couple of different restaurants in that area. This feels like a place that we're probably gonna have to look a little bit outside to really get a chance to add some experiences here. So let's zoom out a little bit. Riverview Cemetery. Obviously, cemeteries aren't necessarily the ideal place to visit, but if there's a famous person that's buried there, let's see if there's any famous people buried at Riverview Cemetery. So I just see the cemetery website. Doesn't necessarily show any people of note. That's in Charlottesville, Virginia. Yeah, it doesn't look like there's anybody who's really particularly famous at that location. So it looks like this not as much for attractions in that area. So I think what we'll do is we'll zoom out a little bit and let's see what is located nearby. If there's anything in the immediate area that sticks out. I see Lafayette is a little bit further south. We got Logansport to the east there. But just to make sure we've covered all of our bases, let's take a look and see what Monticello may have to offer besides Indiana Beach. So we're going to go ahead and type in best things to do in Monticello, Indiana. And as we take a look, it looks like that nature park was one of the best things listed there to do. Looks like there's some things in TripAdvisor. Oh, we got a beer factory. Take a look at that. Copastic Beer Factory? Copastic, I think that's how that's pronounced. Okay, so just nearby the Sportsman Inn there. Let's take a look and see what exactly is at the beer factory here. As they have Indiana spirits and draft beer, packaged beers, wines and ciders. It looks like it's a little bit more for just food and beverage, but I don't necessarily want to discredit it, especially as a member of Buzz Bars. I feel like I'd be doing a disservice to not include potential brewery options. So let's go ahead and put that on there. And there it is. All right. So we got Copastic beer. I apologize if that's not how it's pronounced. Let's see what else we got. Indiana Beach, down the street bar, Fruit Shine Wine, Lake Schaefer boat rentals. Actually, yeah, let's take a look and see about some boat rentals. Because that could be something that could be fun to do. You get a pontoon boat for you and a group of friends. Get a chance to circle around the park for a bit. That could actually be a fun way to get a different look at the place. So I think we'll go ahead and add the Lake Schaefer boat rentals. Bam! And it's on there. So we got a possible boat rental experience. Tall Timbers Marina, Wolf Park, the Connor Prairie. Okay, now we're getting to something that could be interesting here. Connor Prairie is a living museum in Fishers, Indiana. The home is listed in the National Register of Historic Places, and the museum recreates 19th century life along the White River. Okay, so where exactly is Connor Prairie in relation to the park? So there's Connor Prairie. Zoom out a little bit. There's the trampoline park. Noblesville. Oh, wow, that's down near Indianapolis. That's a little bit of a haul down. I think. Yeah, this was back up this way. So that's a bit of a haul. So I don't necessarily want to go there just yet. I like the idea of the open air museum, but I think that would be better set with something that would be in Indianapolis. Let's try TripAdvisor, see what TripAdvisor might have for Monticello. So they got the White Horse Winery, they've got the park, marina, the beer factory, the nature trail. You know, the nature trail keeps coming up a couple of times here. Let's see what TripAdvisor has to say about it. Phase 1. I wonder if they're doing some changes to it. Suggested duration, better than an hour. Okay, so there's some hiking trails. You know what, let's go ahead and add it to the list here. So we'll go up here and bam, there it is. Now I think we're going to go ahead and see here. Indiana. Oh, this is kind of funny. So you got Indiana Beach right there. Okay, there's Indiana Beach. And then you go down to the 6th best thing, Indiana Beach. So apparently it's so good it's listed twice as the top 15 things to do in Monticello. Oh, 3rd time, Indiana Beach Boardwalk Resort. I guess it's that good. All right. So I think with that being said, we've kind of exhausted the options in Monticello itself. Let's go ahead and take a look at the town of Lafayette and see what's over there. All right, so we got things to do in Lafayette, and it looks like there's a bit more to see here. So we have the Columbian Park Zoo. We've got the Art Museum of Greater Lafayette. We got Tropicanoe Cove, Main Street Amusements, the mall, Sell It Here, the park, Malibu Jacks. I forgot that there was a Malibu Jacks there. So for anybody who wants to add another credit, there you go. Now, for the sake of these videos, I'm actually not going to put in other parks because I want to try to open the time up for some other experiences. But if you think that maybe in future videos there should be the ability to add other parks, let me know in the comments below. We also got the People's Brewing Company. And then Mission Breakout Lafayette. Sounds like an escape room. Artist's Own. Rugged Escape. Another escape room. So let's take a look at the Columbian Park Zoo. See about the zoo. Plan your visit. Zoo map. Okay, so it doesn't look like it's a very large zoo, but you could certainly enjoy a little bit there. Wallaby Walkabout. The Eagle Airy. We've also got Otter Creek. Prairie Dog Town. The Owl Exhibit, Penguin Cove, Galapagos Tortoise Exhibit, the Family Farm, Butterfly Garden. So it looks like they've got some animals, not a ton of them. Oh, look how adorable that is. Oh, he's such a tiny little guy. They got a monkey, got an eagle there. Looks like there's a llama. Or is that an alpaca? I sometimes get the two mixed up, I have to admit. I should be better. It looks like we got some prairie dogs. That looks like an ostrich. We got a pony. So I think there's a few different species of animals to see. And so we could certainly go ahead and put the Columbian Park Zoo up there. Bam. There it goes. Top sites in Lafayette. We've got the Han Museum of Indiana Art. Now, I'd be really curious to know if this is like art that comes from Indiana or if it's just a general art museum. The Hahn Mansion Museum of Indiana Art is a public museum in Lafayette, Indiana, housing the largest collection of Indiana art anywhere in the world. What exactly is Indiana art? Is it art that's made by people from Indiana? Open Wednesday through Saturday, 1 to 4 for self-guided tours. Okay, so that's going to be a little bit of a hindrance, but they've got the sculpture garden. They've got a collection of items, ceramics, paintings, sculptures. The Hoosier Group is a designation given to 5 artists in 1894 to an exhibition in Chicago. Comprise this group of Indiana artists, and they're the most represented artists on display in the mansion. Okay, so this does sound like it's focusing specifically on artists from Indiana. So that's kind of neat. So even with the limited hours, it sounds like this could be something that's neat to see. Sculpture garden with a nature trail, mountain biking trail. Ooh! The mountain bike trail is moderately challenging and not for beginners. So in other words, not me. Riders must be intermediate or advanced level to ride this trail. Okay, so we're not doing a mountain bike trail, but there is the nature trail behind the sculpture garden, rustic trail that winds down to the bottom of the property at Valley Street, then loops back up to the top of the hill. 30 different species of trees native to Indiana are identified with signs. That could be neat to see. So I think we're going to go ahead and say the Han Museum as well. Let's go ahead and put it up there. Sweet, we got the Han Museum. All right, Main Street Amusements. By that name, it sounds like it's something could be a bit more old time. I do want to see what they've got here. Indiana's premier pinball destination. Okay, 40 games. They're open in the evenings. Some old school pinball machines, some new ones, holiday hours. So they're not open on Christmas Eve or Christmas. This could be a good nightcap potentially for a second day, or maybe the first day and then having the end of the trip be focused on Indiana Beach. We're located right in the middle of downtown Lafayette's Arts and Market District on Main Street, just a few doors east of historic Lafayette Theater. Parking is free in the downtown streets. We're surrounded by excellent eating and drinking establishments, Three of our favorites are DT Kirby's, Lafayette Brewing Company, and Revolution Barbecue. So they're giving some personal recommendations here. So I just want to make a quick note of those. So let's go ahead and do DT Kirby's, Lafayette Brewing Company, and Revolution Barbecue. Done, done, and done. All right, so we'll take a look at those. We have one of Indiana's largest selection of pinball machines available for play, with 25 plus pins plus over a dozen arcade games. We also buy, sell, trade, and repair pinball machines. So if you happen to be from the area and you have a machine you want to get fixed or trade, they can do that for you. Weekends only at night. If you're coming from out of town, not a bad idea to confirm that we will be open. So probably just want to keep that in mind. It says drop an email. So it sounds like it's kind of a sporadic operation, but again, a good possible nightcap after doing dinner at one of those places. There's another art museum, Greater Lafayette. I wonder if this one is going to be fairly similar to the Indiana art one. Indigenous abstracts from Alaska to the Pueblo Southwest. Sometimes Native American artwork can be really cool to see. Out of bounds. DeCarlo Logan creates work that uses an interdisciplinary approach combining moving with painting, video, photography, printmaking, sculpture, and installation art. So this is one that's almost over. So this wouldn't necessarily work for our visit as far as that particular piece goes. But that's really weird how it's just missing people. Like it's the silhouettes. And they've all got these like starry images inside. It might be hard to tell based on the video, but they've got these little white dots, almost like it's pictures of the stars. So that's interesting. What other exhibits they have here? Visible Silence, Salvador Dali. So this could be another interesting place to go to, especially kind of going on an art vibe for this trip, seems like so far. So let's go ahead and put the Art Museum of Greater Lafayette. Bam! There it is. 15 best things to do in Lafayette. Let's try this. Got Malibu Jack's listed as the top thing to do. So if you're looking for that credit, go to Malibu Jack's. Again, I don't want to put that on there because I'm trying to focus on other things. But again, if you think I should in future videos, let me know down below. Exploration Acres. Oh, now this could be fun. Let's take a look here. Exploration Acres. Looks like it's a... Wait. Stranger Things? Oh, so this looks like it's based off of various corn mazes. You know, Indiana, there's always corn. State highway sign. So it looks like it's a massive corn maze. Corn maze and pumpkin patch. Yeah, it is exactly what I thought it was. September 15th through October 29th. So definitely not something that is all year.
Hoosiers know how to celebrate fall, and it always goes by too fast. So here on Inside ND, we want to help you get out and enjoy some fall fun at Exploration Acres in Lafayette. From racing pumpkins to making campfires.
Okay, racing pumpkins sounds fun.
We'll actually put brand new fresh wood in here.
And even digging for gems.
The gem mine, we have 3-pound bags of sand there that either have uncut gems or fossils.
To firing corn 500 feet from the cannon.
So real talk, last year I flew down to California for a quick day trip and I met up with Ricky, who you might know better as Mike's brother from the Drunk Riders. And he and I went to this fall festival at a farm in Southern California, kind of toward the Inland Empire. And they had a pumpkin cannon. And it was kind of stupid how much fun it was, especially because of the hay bales you were firing at, the cars you were firing at. And so seeing her have a little bit of fun with that, it is a lot of fun.
Well, there's lots to see and do here. One of the main attractions is the corn maze. It is 23 acres worth of land with 10 miles worth of paths and 4 different mazes. Exploration Acres is unforgettable.
In 2019, we're #1 in the country, the year that it was Purdue's 150th anniversary.
Remember this maze, honoring the show Stranger Things. Within 24 hours, this video showed 250,000 views.
In fact, my website kept crashing, so I had to call GoDaddy and say, what can we do to fix this? And they said, well, congratulations, Mr. Fitzgerald. You have the problem that every business in this country wants.
The viral video made a busy year.
We had people come here from Italy, from France, Pakistan.
Tim designs a different corn maze each time. In November, he sends a sketch to a company in Idaho, which has the equipment to plant the corn.
That's cool. I would have thought that they just went through and they cut it. Like, I never would have thought that it was specifically planting it in different spots to make it work. That's really fascinating. I think I gotta add this. That's kind of cool, especially for the notoriety of it. So we're going to go ahead and put Exploration Acres up there. And there it is. And that's actually going to be perfect for the time frame of Hops and Coaster Drops, I think. So Hops and Coaster Drops was on September 9th this past year. And Exploration Acres happens September 15th. So that doesn't quite time out exactly the way I'd like it to. I kind of want to plan for it just in case. Maybe it just can't really fit with Hops and Coaster Drops. It might have to be a weekend after or something like that. So, all right, so let's look for some more stuff. Artist Own is an artist cooperative with members from Lafayette, Indiana. They work in a wide variety of mediums, including painting, sculpture, jewelry, photography, furniture, pottery, fiberglass, drawing, and much more. This is feeling like a very art-based trip. Painting, pottery, painting. Got the shop. So yeah, it's definitely more of a store kind of setting, but could be really fascinating to see what some of the local artisans have. I think we're just going to make this kind of a art-based visit. So let's go ahead and put Artisans Own. Bam, there it is. DT Kirby's Street Food. Ooh, that sounds interesting. Let's take a look at what you got. Wait, that looks like a big plate of bacon. So they're open late, nice long hours. Baked mushrooms, nacho platter, friggin' fries. The French are so overrated. I wonder if this is connected to that whole freedom fry movement that happened way back when, back in 2002, 2003, when the whole thing with Iraq was going on, or if that's just kind of a general joke. Definitely seeing some things that look like they're pretty good here. Small burgers like the Castle grilled onion, pickle, and cheese. Sweet barbecue pork version available. Wonder if that's meant like pulled pork. So pocket burgers sounds like they're maybe like sliders. Signature burgers. Got the prime burger, the real bacon cheeseburger. Nearly a half pound of our seasoned bacon. Oh my God. That is a ton of bacon. Holy smokes. They probably go through quite a few packages of it. Swap the bun for 2 grilled cheeses. What? Oh my God. So they got hot dogs there as well. Looking at the different options, I don't see what would be considered a Seattle dog. For those who haven't heard of a Seattle dog, it's basically a hot dog that has grilled onion and cream cheese. Not exactly something I'm in a hurry to have very often, but it is a thing here. So yeah, this definitely looks like they've got some good options. I don't know if I would necessarily do that real bacon burger, but as somebody who likes bacon, I might. So we're going to definitely keep DT Kirby's on there. Let's go ahead and scope out the Lafayette Brewing Company. All right, so we got Lafayette Brewing. Looks like they have their own menu. So if you want to try their food, you could do that instead, make it easier. They've got starters, soup, salad, sandwiches. A lot of gastropub options in this area for sure. Let's see what they got for beer. I want to see their selection. Let's see, they've got a non-alcoholic... Good choices for non-alcoholic beer. That's a great name. Then they've got their Amber Lager. They've got their Citra 7 IPA. They've got a bitter. They've got a stout, Star City Oktoberfest Marzen. I think that's probably what I would try first. Ooh, Pear City. Oh, that's from Irish cider, Mangers, or Magners. Sorry, I totally butchered that. I think I'd probably try the Marzen first, and then I'd get that lager. Now, I'm not a huge IPA fan, but there's a couple I've had that I liked, so maybe I'll try some others. Take a look at their burgers and beef on a bun. What exactly does that mean? All burgers and beef on a bun served with a side of brew pub chips. Other sides may be substituted for an additional charge. So we got the Angus beef patty, you got bison, you've got black bean, and you've got bacon. Oh man, what is it with these places in bacon? I guess it's probably because pork is really common in the Midwest. And I'm not going to complain. I do like bacon. A buttered bun with pretzel bun. Oh, these are different bun options. Okay. And then you got the different cheeses. The green chili nacho cheese. Oh, man. That sounds like somebody went to New Mexico at some point and found some inspiration there. So that definitely seems like a good option as well. I actually didn't even really take a look at People's Brewing Company to see what kinds of drinks they have. So let's take a look at that. All right. So it looks like they too have their own food options. I got flatbread pizza. Oh, kind of like the can design there on the German Fest Marzen. So they do Marzens as well. Take a look at their beer menu. For those who may have not seen the channel before, my personal favorite kind of beer is a Hefeweizen, but I do like lagers and pale ales and blondes and things like that. So this one does a lot of IPAs. They've also got a golden ale. They've got the Farmer's Daughter wheat ale. That would be one I think I would try there. Oh, they got some seasonal ones. A pumpkin spice seltzer. If you're into that fall stuff. The People's Pilsner. Imperial Stout. They've got another Marzen. We release our German Fest annually for the St. Boniface German Fest in downtown Lafayette. When is the German Fest? All right, so this might be another thing to look into. German Fest, September 7th of 2024. I think that's pretty close to the timing of... for the hops and coaster drops. Man, that's going to be a real damper, though, having to choose between German Fest or going to the Exploration Acres. They got attractions, Purdue University. Is this where Purdue is? It's in West Lafayette. Okay. How far is it from Lafayette? Oh, it's right there. Okay, well, there's West Lafayette and there's Lafayette. So yeah, that's another possibility. Just going and exploring the campus of the University of Purdue. I love walking around campuses of universities because they have some really fascinating architecture when you're looking around here. And, you know, as we take a look at this, there's that clock tower, there's the fountain there. I don't know if you'd be able to get access to the stadiums or anything like that, but it would be neat to take a look around the campus. So you've got John Purdue. Education was a flame that lit the world. Indeed, sir. Indeed. Oh, there's some beautiful architecture there. I think we need to go ahead and add that to the list right here. There it is. With that being said, I feel like this is a pretty good list of things to start with. And so I'm going to go ahead and pause, put together a 2-day trip itinerary using these options here, and then we'll get back together and talk about what we've got planned for a 2-day trip to Indiana. All right, so after a bit of work, I've got a 2-day itinerary that I think would be a lot of fun to do when visiting Indiana Beach. Now, I do want to add a caveat that I would have loved to have put Exploration Acres into this because I really got into the idea of the corn maze and the corn cannons and stuff like that because that looked like a ton of fun. The problem, though, is that that event started the weekend after Hops and Coaster Drops had. And while Indiana Beach did offer a pass holder appreciation day and they sold tickets to the general public for that weekend on the same weekend as when they began this year's festivities at Exploration Acres, it's not for sure that that would align in the same way in the future. So I kind of went on the basis of wanting to get to Hops and Coaster Drops because that's an event that I personally would really like to go to. Now, would you have gone ahead and made that change, or would you have gone ahead and kept Exploration Acres? Feel free to share your thoughts in the comments below. And also, at the end of the video, by all means, if there's anything you would do differently for this itinerary, again, please share that with the comments. But for now, this is what we've got. For the first day, I'm starting off with the idea of going to do some exploration around the campus of Purdue University. As I mentioned before, I love walking around college campuses and getting to see the architecture and some of the statues and fountains and things like that they have. I figure a couple hours, kind of a morning walk, get the day started, be a great way to explore it. And then from there, the Columbian Park Zoo is kind of the furthest thing outside of town. And so I thought that would be a good idea to go ahead there next, which it's only a 7-minute drive. Lafayette's not a huge town, so it's not like these are great distances to go for these places that are on this list. But it is the furthest one out, so you can go there and you can kind of backtrack in. They suggested about 2 hours, hour and a half for the different animals they have. I have it listed as a little bit over 2 hours. Got some flexibility there. You could go ahead and give a little bit more time at the zoo as they open up at 10 in the morning. And you could always go to the university a little bit earlier if you wanted to adjust it that way. From the Columbian Park Zoo, I have the Hahn Museum, which is the one that focuses on the artists from Indiana. This is one that they suggest about an hour to 2 hours for. I figured an hour and a half would be a nice happy medium, gives you a chance to walk around and see the exhibits inside, plus get a chance to do the walk through the sculpture garden. And then the Art Museum of Greater Lafayette is on the edge of downtown Lafayette. So when you depart from the Han Museum, everything else for the first day, you can pretty much walk to. That's listed on this itinerary. The Art Museum of Greater Lafayette, they suggested about an hour. They closed around 4 o'clock based on their current hours. It could be that they have wider ranging hours later, but I just went ahead and based off of the current hours for this itinerary. So we would go ahead with a visit to the Art Museum of Greater Lafayette. It's less than a 15-minute walk to get to Artist's Own, and I figured that would be a nice way to kind of wrap up a little bit of an art time. So you start off with the Han Museum, seeing the art from local artists in Indiana. You go to the Art Museum of Greater Lafayette to see artwork from other artists, and then you get a chance to see some items that are up for sale. Maybe you find one that you want to take home and add to your decor. Then it's time to try some local food. Now, obviously, within the time frame of those first stops, there'd probably be a quick place to stop by, maybe just something fast food restaurant, or possibly just having a nice big breakfast to get you through the day. But I went ahead and I selected DT Kirby's. As I have to admit, thinking about that half-pound bacon burger, I think it would be terribly unhealthy, but there's a part of me that's morbidly curious and wanting to see what it's like. So, yeah, might have to try that out. People's Brewing looked like they had some good options for beers, but that is further out of town. And so to kind of keep with the theme of keeping it close and in the core of the downtown area, because I believe Lafayette Brewing Company and DT Kirby's are both off Main Street, as is Artist's Own. And so it makes for a nice little combination there. If you wanted to wait until later to eat, you could always flip the two around, because I think Lafayette Brewing Company is closer to Artist's Own than DT Kirby's. I can't remember exactly how it was set up on the map, but they're fairly close to each other. And then you wrap up the night with some arcade games at Main Street Amusements. Get a chance to try some pinball. And so that, I think, is a good way to kind of wrap up that day and a chance to experience Lafayette. Day 2 then focuses on Monticello. Now, this is one that there were a couple of places I had listed. I decided to narrow it down because if the idea is going to be focused on going to hops and coaster drops, they've got a ton of breweries that are represented for this event. They've got live music. They've got all the rides. From what friends of mine have said about the event that have been before, it's definitely like a bigger day excursion. So what I thought would be a great thing to do, kick the morning off with a boat ride. Get a chance to see the rides before they get going for the day and enjoy the lake, nice and quiet. Then at about 11:30, you head back in. It's not very far to get to Oak and Barrel from the Lake Schaefer boat rental dock, as I think it's less than a 10-minute drive. And so you wouldn't have to go that far. This is kind of more to build in a little bit of a gap between these two times in case, you need to take some time to dock the boat, or in case there's paperwork to do after you return the boat. I'm not exactly sure what the process would be. It could be just as simple as you pull back in, get off the boat, and you're good to rock and roll. So a little bit of a gap built in there. Maybe you enjoy a little bit more time at Oak and Barrel. And then from 2 o'clock on, I'm thinking it's time for Indiana Beach. Especially with all those different breweries that are being represented at the Hops and Coaster Drops event and getting a chance to enjoy the music and all those rides that we talked about. I personally feel like this would be a great itinerary to go coasting with culture in Indiana. But what do you all think? Would you hold off a week and try to include the Exploration Acres corn mazes and get a chance to see all of that? Or would you perhaps do something a little bit differently? Maybe go at a different time of year? Would you spend more time in other areas outside of Lafayette or in Monticello? Please share your thoughts in the comment section down below. And so that's going to be the first random roller coaster trip planner. I hope you all enjoyed it, and I hope we'll get to see you again on the next one. Thank you for watching this video from Coasting with Culture. If you enjoyed it, please give it a thumbs up and click on the subscribe button to see future videos here on YouTube, like these ones which you may enjoy as well. Additional content can be found at coastingwithculture.com, and you can also follow Coasting with Culture on various social media channels at CoastWCulture for announcements, previews, and updates. Thanks again for watching, and until next time, take care and safe travels.